Hello, and welcome to the next installment of my in-depth manga collection tour. I am Base Jalarin, and this is the fourth goddamn time I am trying to film this. I keep on getting interrupted, I keep on encountering just problems, and this video is cursed, I am convinced, but I am going to push on even though I'm starting to lose my voice. Before we start, I have some light novels up here. We won't be covering these today. We'll be covering them in a separate video, mostly to save on time. But here's just a quick pan of what we have up here, and then we're just going to move right on down to the next shelf, which is Dot Hat Quadruple X Volumes 1 and 2, which is complete. We actually accidentally stole this from one of our friends, and he hasn't asked for it back, so neener, this is ours now. Next up, we have Hana and Hina After School, Volumes 1 through 3, which is complete. A super cute, quick Yuri series by Milk Morinaga. A definite must-have in any collection that really likes Yuri, because it's got the base seal of approval. Nothing gross in here. And I really like it, because the smaller girl with like the brown bob is actually the older one, and the taller girl who's all matured and stuff and has the long blonde hair is the younger one. I just really like that dynamic. That's really cool. Next up we have Hatsune Miku Acute, which is a single volume. This is a really quick read, like super quick. You will get done with it and then you will feel like you didn't even read anything at all. It's just a snack of a manga, if you will. Next up we have Hatsune Miku Bad End Night, Volumes 1 through 3, which is complete. This is a really neat sort of mystery thriller. Not like the deepest mystery thriller you'll ever read, but it's a nice mystery thriller. I definitely recommend it to anybody who likes Hatsune Miku, who wants something with a little more substance. Not so much something that ends in one volume and it feels like you didn't read anything at all. This is really nice, and I definitely recommend it. Next up we have Unofficial Hatsune Mix, which is a series of kind of like sketchy short stories by the character designer who designed Miku, Rin, Len, and Luca. And this, as well as being a manga, is like full of super like high quality full color pages, which I like is something from Dark Horse that I can really appreciate. Is when, but for the most part, if a manga has a lot of color pages, when they publish something in like an omnibus, they will give you all of those color pages. But yeah, there's like probably like I think there's 4 sections of like that many color pages in this book, and I really appreciate it. I really love like big old nice color pages in my manga. So yeah, that's a positive thing I can say about Dark Horse. Whoops. Next up we have Hatsune Miku Future Delivery, which is actually about a girl who has lost her memory, and the only thing that she remembers is a girl who looks like Miku, and she's going from, because this is like a sci-fi story, so she's going from like planet to planet with this kind of almost like out-of-date like male robot looking for Miku, and they like come across like different iterations of the Vocaloids from planet to planet, and it's a really neat story, especially like all of the concepts for the planets are really unique in here. Next up we have Haven't You Heard I'm Sakamoto, Volumes 1 through 4, which is complete. This is a hilarious manga. Definitely something I would look into picking up if you want more comedy in your life, because Haven't You Heard I'm Sakamoto is packed to the brim with the funnies. Next up we have Helvetica Standard, bold and italic. These are sort of little extras if you really like Nichijou and you want a little more Nichijou content. These are sort of strips and stuff that the author made for magazines as promotional content, as well as just promotional full color pages and artwork. This one doesn't have as much like promotional art as Volume 2. Volume 2 is essentially just a glorified art book with just a couple of comics in it. But yeah, definitely a must-read, a must-buy if you liked Nichijou. Next up we have The High School Life of a Fudanshi, Volumes 1 through 3. Maybe it's because I'm a filthy fujoshi myself, but there's a lot of stuff in here that I like related to, and that kind of added to my enjoyment. But this is a really neat comedy. A really neat manga because you don't really see a lot of manga about Fudanshi that isn't also like a BL. This isn't a BL, this is just straight up manga about just a guy who just likes his yaois, and it's just fucking hilarious. Next up we have How to Build a Dungeon, volumes 1 through 3. I bought this under the pretense that it was not going to be porn. I bought it thinking it was going to be sort of like a fan servicey, jokey how-to guide. But turns out that it's just a manga about like a warlock dude who builds a dungeon and fills it with girls that he likes to fuck. And that's pretty much it. And the reason I have it in my collection still is just sort of, I'm trash. That's why. It just stands as a testament to the fact that I am garbage and I will just read anything with some nice titty. Next up we have Honey and Clover, volumes 1 through 10, which is complete. This is a really nice shoujo about art university students. And fun fact, my husband was the one who initially started collecting this. And it's not like he started collecting it and then he was all like, oh, yuck, girly stuff. But he really enjoyed it, and we both really enjoy it. And we're just lovers of the shoujo around here, as well as the shonen. We like all them genres. That's equality. Next up we have Hellgirl, volumes 1 through 6, and The Omnibus with volumes 7 through 9. This is sort of complete. It can be read as complete. There is a third part we never got because Kodansha didn't continue publishing this after Del Rey became Kodansha. But it's essentially complete. And the funny thing about this is that this is a really darkly themed manga. It's about like a site where you can go to send different people to hell. And it kind of like deeply explores the deeper, darker parts of like the human psyche and the lengths people will go to get revenge and stuff. It's got very dark themes, but it was published in the same magazine as like Sailor Moon and Cardcaptor Sakura. It's a magazine for young girls who are like late elementary school, early middle school. So the art in here, despite the themes, is super cutesy, which is bizarre, and I love it. Next up we have I Am Here, volumes 1 and 2, which is complete. Just your basic, everyday, average garden variety shoujo. But I like it. It's short and it's sweet, and it doesn't hang around too long. But a thing I like about this is that the first one here is published by Del Rey, and the second one here is published by Kodansha. And when they made the switch and they were publishing stuff that Del Rey had been publishing, they did not change the spines, so if you had been collecting from Del Rey, it wouldn't look weird on your shelf, and it would match. So yeah, just a little detail that I really appreciate from Kodansha there. Next up we have I Don't Like You at All, Big Brother, volumes 1 through 10 in these omnibuses, 2-in-1s. For the longest time, every single time I like happened to come across this manga in like a collection video, I always tried to like justify why I had it, to make it seem like I wasn't collecting this for like a dumb, trashy reason. But no, I'm done trying to justify why I have certain volumes in my collection. I just like this manga, despite the fact that it's incesty garbage. I just like it. It's funny as hell, and it's nice. And I can't wait for the next volume, which is actually coming out later this year. Next up we have I Hear the Sunspot, which is the exact opposite of like weird, gross, fetishy garbage. It is actually this really sweet, adorable love story of these two boys who meet in college, one of whom is hard of hearing when he's starting to lose his hearing really, really bad, and the second one is a guy who volunteers to take notes for him in exchange for lunches, and this sort of down the line develops into like a romance. The second installment was actually published really recently, and apparently it's like double the size, which I can definitely appreciate, and I definitely recommend this to anybody who's looking to start reading stuff that's in like kind of the BL shonenai sort of area, but don't want to be assaulted by like graphic sex scenes and ghost penises. This is really nice, and I definitely highly recommend it if you're looking into that. Next up we have Ichiro, volumes 1 through 5, which is complete. This is another kind of old 4 Coma published by Yen Press, so most of these are $10.99 as opposed to $17 fucking dollars. But one thing that's actually pretty suspicious about this manga that I recently noticed is I bought these all in sequence. I bought them when they came out. I bought Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, all of them when they were brand new. So these ones are not... everything was bought in order, so it's not like one is like significantly older than the other. Because Volumes 1 and 2, let me explain. Volume 1 and 2, you can see there's maybe like some yellowing, but for the most part the pages, as you can see at least at the top, are pristine eggshell white. And then we're going to compare Volumes 2 and 3 because 4 and 5 are the same as 3, and whoa, that's not the lighting, folks, that is yellowing up the wazoo. And I went inside and kind of felt around, and yeah, the paper quality in Volumes 1 and 2 is different from the paper quality of Volumes 3 through 5. So there's another weird Yen Press conspiracy theory. Their paper, at some point, for their 4 comas at least, was changed to something a little less high quality, which, yeah, interesting thought, interesting fact. Next up we have Imperfect Girl, Volumes 1 and 2. This is based off a novel by Nisi Oisin, of whom I am a huge fangirl of, so of course I had to buy this manga. Volume 3 is coming out soon, and I can't wait to finish this series up and see what the fuck is going on with this little girl who has our protagonist locked in a closet in her house. Next up we have Indian Summer, Volume 1. This was a manga that I bought when I was like a wee little babby in middle school, so I wasn't really buying it for any ill intentions, but it is a really fan-servicey manga, and the OVA that is based on it, or this is based on, I don't know which was which, is actually a lot more adult. But it's actually, the actual name is called Koharu Biyori, and then apparently that does not mean Indian Summer. And I don't understand why they called it Indian Summer. But Comics 1 is gone now, so we'll never know why it was called Indian Summer. And this is the only volume of this series that they ever published. Next up we have Interviews with Monster Girls, Volumes 1 through 5. This is a more lighter side of Monster Girl series, because usually when you get a Monster Girl series, it's a pretty, like, fan-servicey, really, like, schlocky, like Monster Musume, and stuff like that. But this is a lighter side of Monster Girl manga. There's some, like, sort of fan-servicey things, but it doesn't go to the extent of its contemporaries. It's a lot lighter, and definitely one I would recommend if you are not a fan of all the fan service in Monster Girl manga, but want to get into the genre. Next up we have Inaboku's Secret Service, which we have the Japanese Volume 0, which is like a character book with character profiles and like initial designs for the characters and interviews with the author and such. And it's how I was actually introduced to the manga. I found this at a con one day and I had no idea what manga it was for. I just thought the art was super cute. But then they started publishing the actual manga, and yeah, that was really cool how that happened. But this is complete, and it's something that's I hold very near and dear to me because it's one of my favorite manga, and the author for the manga actually passed away a couple good years ago. So it's really unfortunate that we won't be seeing anything newer from her. But I would really appreciate, because she had like 1 or 2 other series that were complete before this one, and it would be really cool if we could see them. I'm not really holding my breath that we will one day see a Koko Fujiwara release in the future or whatever, but it would be really cool if we did, because I love her artwork. I love her artwork so much. Next up, way back here in the corner, we have Jackass, which is a single volume, and it is a BL, and it's your basic sexy BL. It's nothing all that special. It's not really all that revolutionary. The reason I got it was because Amazon wouldn't leave me alone about recommending it to me. Maybe it's because I like buy a bunch of Yuri and it figured, hey, maybe she likes this other gay shit. So yeah, Amazon for the longest time was relentlessly recommending me Jackass. And I found it one day at a bookstore, so I figured I'd pick it up. I mean, I wasn't offended by it, but it's just a BL. It's just a sexy, sexy BL. But it kind of makes me want to at least start picking up single BL volumes, ones that are only one volume long that don't take a lot of commitment. Maybe I'll find something that I like in there, because I liked I Hear the Sunspot. Maybe I'll find something that's equally sweet in all of the Fujo nonsense. Next up we have JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and we have Phantom Blood Volumes 1 through 3, which is complete, Battle Tendency Volumes 1 through 4, which is complete, and we have Stardust Crusaders Volumes 1 through 6. I really, really love how we're getting like all of these JoJo in these really nice hardcover JoJonium volumes. I really like how an iconic series like JoJo's is getting the attention that it deserves. I really hope, like I said in my prior collection video, that this will maybe give us a chance to possibly see older Araki manga republished and in like better condition than what it was published in before. But we're just going to have to wait and see on that and just enjoy these nice high quality hardcovers. Next up we have Juana and the Dragonute 7 Kingdoms. I haven't gotten into this one yet, so I can't really tell you much about it. Just that I really love the genre of like young girl winds up in like the care of some like weird monster person and they have to coexist and be friends. And I just really like that kind of genre. So whenever like there's like that sort of thing getting published, I always like latch on to it. Next up we have Ju-On Volumes 1 and 2. I think this is Volume 1. It doesn't say Volume 1, it says Video Side, but it reads like Volume 1. So I'm going to assume it's Volume 1 because it's a Dark Horse release, and Dark Horse is vague as fuck, and I'm pretty sure these are out of print, so we'll just never know. But it's a good old classic Japanese horror story. And a really nice addition to your collection if you like that good old frightening horror stuff. Dog is barking in the background. I am ignoring her. Next up we have Junji Ito's Cat Diary, which is a single volume. As someone who has owned cats, I absolutely adore this manga because it's a really realistic look at what it's like to own a couple of cats. And it's drawn in Junji Ito's like crazy, weird horror style. So you get a bunch of like horrific like drawings of cats doing mundane things like yawning, and it's like, holy shit! Yeah, I really like it, and the ending is actually really bittersweet. Next up we have K-On! Volumes 1 through 4, College and High School, which is unfortunately complete. It could have continued on, but I don't think Kakafly is ever going to bother, which is unfortunate. But yeah, these are kind of like the GA 4-koma, where every page that was a color page was in full color. Nice high quality paper. And it was $10.99. Again, back to that idealistic time when everything was like affordable. Yeah, that's all of K-On! Next up we have Kakegurui Volumes 1 through 3, and down here we have Volume 4. Really crazy series. I wouldn't recommend it for the gambling aspect, maybe for like the character aspect, because you got a lot of like cool, crazy characters in here. The art is actually fantastic, and the expressions that the manga artist draws are absolutely delicious, and I love them. Next up, right next to that, we have, my shadow keeps getting in the way. There we go. We have Knights of Sidonia, Volumes 1 through 15, which is complete. It's not a bad series, but it's definitely Tsutomu Nihei's weaker work. It's a lot more fashioned for a mainstream audience instead of not a lot of dialogue, and you want to like figure out what's going on in the story for yourself by looking at all this fantastic artwork. It's kind of fan servicey, kind of like a lot of like, oh no, you've seen me in my underwear, Babaka, and it's more of just a mainstream sort of typical series, but it's still got a lot of Tsutomu Nihei sort of quirks, and it's still a really good series, and I highly recommend it. Next up we have Kobato, Volumes 1 through 6, which is complete. This is just a quick sweet Clamp series, and it takes place in like the Wish universe and also in the Holic universe, which bridges the Wish universe and the Holic universe together. I really like how later down the road, Clamp is starting to publish all these manga that connect all of their other manga to each other, and they have them in like the same universe. It's like the Clamp expanded universe, instead of like, here's a bunch of stories by this like manga, this group of mangaka. It's all like, here's this entire huge expanded universe full of fantasy creatures. So yeah, Kabato is a nice little manga that kind of bridges two unrelated manga together, but it's a really sweet story, and it's short and it's sweet, and I like it. Next up, we have Kaze-san and With Morning Glories, Bento, Shortcake, and an Apron. This is a super, super cute Yuri. I absolutely love it. The art in it is super adorable. The girls are just absolute treat to look at. It is just a wonderful manga. A really, really cute romance. And I can't wait for more. I don't know when we're going to be getting more because it looks like we've caught up, sort of, with the Japanese release, I think. So it might be a little while till we see another one of these, but I am going to wait very patiently. Next up we have Kashimashi, Girl Meets Girl, Volumes 1 and 2 of the Omnibuses, which is complete cat. You will not ruin this video again. This is also kind of a Yuri, even though the main character starts out as a boy. The first chapter, he is immediately turned into a girl after getting almost nearly killed by a spaceship accident. Yes, you heard me right. A spaceship accident. There are aliens in this one, boys. But yeah, it's a really cute series, a good classic love triangle, and I really like it because in the end, the main character chooses best girl, which I really appreciate. I always appreciate when the main character goes for best girl. Next up we have Kigurumi Guardians, Volumes 1 through 3. This is a really curious series because Volume 4 was originally slated to come out like a couple months ago, or like a month ago. And it was really funny because I thought to myself, like, isn't the series on hiatus in Japan? And like, when I was thinking that, the manga series was delayed. And at first it was delayed till later this year. But I just recently looked at the Amazon listing, and it is gone when you're, like, generally searching through Amazon. You can't find it in a search on Amazon. You have to, like, go through Google to find it. And it's all like, we don't have this manga, it's unavailable, we don't know when we're going to be getting any in. And I scrolled down, and the release date is slated for, like, December of 2020. So, I don't know what the fuck is going on with Kigurumi Guardians, but it's gonna be a little bit until we see Volume 4, I guess. Next up we have Kindred Spirits on the Roof, the complete collection. This is a cute Yuri series. It might not be for everyone considering it's based off of a not a graphic novel. Cat. It is based off like a Yuri game. Cat. She wants to be in the video so bad. Yeah, it's based off of a Yuri visual novel. That's the word. Haha, visual novel. I know that word. And so there's some characters in this that you would need a little context into, but not a whole lot. But it's kind of a bunch of like unrelated stories, thankfully. And it's not like continued from the visual novel, so you would need to play the visual novel to get context. So you can read this on its own. There's going to be like cameos that you're not going to realize are cameos because you didn't play the game. But I'm really interested, and I kind of want to download the game just to experience it, just to get that full Kindred Spirits on the Roof experience. We'll see. I'm not very good at video games, though. I'm not really good at buying and keeping video games unless they're called Monster Hunter. Next up, we have Koroneko, or Imo, Volumes 1 through 6, which is complete. This is Imo without the weird incest element. It's sort of there, like, in the middle, but in the end, the main character winds up, romancing, Kuroneko instead of his younger sister. So, This is kind of just as trashy as Oraimo in the fan service department, but it is Oraimo if the incest never happened. Yay! And finally, on this shelf, we have the Kurosagi Corpse Delivery Service with the omnibuses 1 through 4 and the volume 13, which comes right after 4. I don't know what Dark Horse is doing with the series. I think this is another one of those where they just kind of mysteriously, like, dropped it and told nobody, because volume 14 came out years and years ago, and they still had, and volume 4 of the omnibuses came out like a couple years ago too. So I'm gonna just assume that Dark Horse has just said fuck it and dropped the series, which is really unfortunate. A lot of people say that this manga is really boring, but I was really liking it. I was super intrigued. I really enjoyed it. So it's really unfortunate that it kind of got the snub from Dark Horse. It wasn't even a graceful thing. It wasn't all like, we've decided to discontinue the series. We're really unfortunately sorry, you guys, but it wasn't just getting enough sales or whatever. It's just the mysterious Dark Horse drop where they just decide just to stop publishing a series and tell nobody. But yeah, that's the Kurosagi Corpse Delivery Service experience, and I guess I'm gonna get volume 14 eventually, maybe this year, just to round it out, just because I'm bitter. But yeah, and that is the entirety of my third shelf, and I will be seeing you in the next video where we will go on to the next shelf. So until then, here's my cat. She really wanted to be in the video, you guys, so here's a nice shot of me petting this cat. Hello. 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 Say bye. Say bye. Goodbye? No. But yeah, that was it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.